Hi viewers and a good evening to Sansad Television. This is the news with me, RASHIKA. In the next half an hour, we'll take you through the top stories of the day, be it national, international, sports or business. But first, the headlines. Prime Minister Modi to leave tonight for G7 summit in Germany. Discussions to focus on energy, climate, food and security and counter-terrorism. Home Minister Amit Shah hails Supreme Court verdict on Gujarat riots, demands apology from those who levelled political motivated allegations. No other outfit can use Bal Thakere's name, says Sena. Maharashtra rebel faction calls itself Shiv Sena Bala Sahib, holds meeting in Guwahati. Assam flood toll touches 118, over 45 lakh affected. Brahmaputra and Kopili flowing above the danger mark. Air Force continues relief operations. US President Joe Biden calls abortion ruling a sad day for America, promises fight is not over. UN Human Rights Chief calls it a huge blow to women's rights. Let us now quickly look at few important stories of the day in our flash segment. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts in the Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio tomorrow. It will be the 90th episode of the monthly radio program. The Bahujan Samaj Party has extended support to NDA's president candidate Draupadi Murmu in the upcoming election. Tribal community an important part of the party's movement, says Mayawati. Planned and systematic destruction of country's democratic institutions during dark days of democracy by Congress party will never be forgotten, says BJP President JP Nadda. Domestic raw coking coal production continues to witness increasing trend in current fiscal, says Coal Ministry. 22% more raw coking coal produced this fiscal than previous year, says Ministry. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh has left for Portugal to take part in 2022 UN Ocean Conference at Lisbon. More than 130 countries to participate. Mr. Singh will deliver keynote address. The central government has notified GST compensation cess extension until March 2026. Government attempting to make up for the borrowings and arrears of compensation paid to states in the last 2 financial years. Indian consignment of humanitarian assistance worth 3 billion rupees arrived in Sri Lanka. Consignment consists of 14,700 metric tons of rice, 250 metric tons of milk powder and 38 metric tons of medicines. 26/11 Mumbai terror attack handler Sajid Mir has been arrested in Pakistan. The arrest of the LAT terrorist comes years after Pakistan's denial of his presence in the country and even claiming he was dead. IMD has predicted heavy rain in parts of West Coast during next 4 days. Widespread rainfall also predicted over the northeast India and sub-Himalayan West Bengal and Sikkim during the next 5 days. Seeing the rise in the cases across the UK and the US, researchers in Portugal have said that the monkeypox virus may be mutating more than expected. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will leave for Germany tonight to attend the G7 summit. Ahead of the visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that it will be a pleasure to meet Chancellor Scholz again after the productive India-Germany intergovernmental consultations last month. In a statement, Prime Minister Modi said that he will exchange views with the G7 countries, G7 partner countries and guest international organizations during the summit on topical issues such as environment, energy, climate, food security, health, counter-terrorism, gender equality and democracy. He said he was looking forward to meeting leaders of some of the participating G7 and guest countries on the sidelines of the summit. He will also interact with the Indian diaspora at a community event in Munich. Prime Minister Modi will participate in the annual summit of G7 in Scholz on 26 and 27 June on invitation of German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. After attending the G7 summit, Prime Minister will travel to the UAE on 20th June to pay condolences on the passing away of Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the former UAE president and Abu Dhabi ruler. He will also meet Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan since his election as the new president of the UAE and the ruler of Abu Dhabi. Union Home Minister Amit Shah hailed the Supreme Court's verdict giving clean chit to Prime Minister and then Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi in Gujarat riots case. While dismissing the petition, the court also held the petition was devoid of merits. Home Minister Amit Shah said that those who levelled politically motivated allegations should apologize.
कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एप्रिशिएट हुआ एविडेंस एप्रिशिएट करने के बाद दिया गया फैसला सच्चा है, तो अब क्वेश्चन उठाने चाहिए पत्रकारों की जिम्मेदारी है जिन्होंने आरोप लगाए थे उनके ऊपर। पूछना चाहिए उनको कि क्या आधार था ये आरोप का, और आधार था तो क्यों नहीं गए सुप्रीम कोर्ट में।
Taking a swipe at the Congress for protesting against the interrogation of Rahul Gandhi by the ED, Amit Shah said Prime Minister Narendra Modi was also questioned in the case, but nobody states dharna.
मोदी जी की भी पूछताछ हुई थी, किसी ने धरना प्रदर्शन नहीं करा था। देश भर से कार्यकर्ता आकर मोदी जी के समर्थन में सॉलिडारिटी के लिए खड़े नहीं हुए थे। हम कानून को कोऑपरेट किए थे, मेरी भी अरेस्ट हुई थी, कोई धरना प्रदर्शन नहीं करे थे।
Political tensions continue to rise in Maharashtra. The Maharashtra Legislature Secretariat has issued a disqualification notice to 16 rebel Shiv Sena MLAs who are currently camping in Guwahati. They have been given time till June 27 to file their written replies. The National Executive of Shiv Sena has authorized Party President and State Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray to take action against the rebel MLAs led by Shinde. The National Executive also passed a resolution stating that no one would be allowed to use the name of the party or Balasaheb Thackeray to form a new group.
जिसने शिवसेना के साथ गद्दारी या बेईमानी की है, उनके ऊपर कठोर कार्रवाई करने के सर्वाधिकार हमने एक रिजोल्यूशन के नाते उद्धव ठाकरे साहब को दिए हैं और जल्द ही उसके ऊपर अमल हो, ये इस रिजोल्यूशन में कहा है।
37 MLAs of Shiv Sena and 10 independents are currently camping in Guwahati with Eknath Shinde. They held a meeting today to discuss next course of action. Rebel Shiv Sena MLA Deepak Kesarkar said that they are not going to merge with anyone but will be setting up a separate bloc of the party named Shiv Sena Balasaheb. He also said that the rebel group enjoys 2/3 majority in the legislature party.
मर्ज होने की जरूरत नहीं है। जिन्होंने भी अपना अलग गुट बनाया था उनको अलग बैठने की व्यवस्था हर जगह पे हो चुकी है, होती है। हमारा नाम तो शिवसेना है ही है, तो उसमें और ऐड नहीं करना ऐसे उनको लगता है, तो हम लोग उसको शिवसेना बोलेंगे, उनका हम लोग आदर करेंगे।
Meanwhile, Shiv Sena workers on Saturday vandalized the office of Rebel Party MLA Tanaji Sawant in Pune. Amid rising political tension, Mumbai police on Saturday imposed Section 144 in the city. And in other news from across the nation, Assam continues to reel under severe floods with over 118 deaths so far. Silchar in Kachar district remains submerged for 6th day. The rivers are showing a receding trend through the Brahmaputra at Dhubri, and the Kopili in Nagaon are still flowing above the danger mark. Over 45 lakh in 30 districts have been affected by the deluge, the Assam State Management Disaster Authority said. The Indian Air Force is conducting flood relief operations in the state. The state government has engaged additional resources to the severely affected district, especially Kachar and the 2 other districts in Barak Valley. Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a meeting of the Parliamentary Consultative Committee of the Home Ministry in Kevadia. He said the centre is implementing the National Cyclone Risk Mitigation Project in 8 coastal states with an outlay of over Rs 4,900 crore. A Gujarat anti-terror squad team on Saturday arrested activist Teena Stelawad. Gujarat police has been registered a case against her and the former IPS officer Sanjeev Bhatt and RB Shri Kumar for giving wrong and false information about the Gujarat riots. Voting for the first phase of Panchayat polls in Madhya Pradesh was held today. Polling was held for 8,702 village panchayats which fall under 115 development blocks across the state. Second phase will be held on 1st of July and the third phase on 8th. 15,940 fresh cases of COVID have been registered in past 24 hours, taking the active case load to 91,779. The COVID-19 recovery rate was recorded at 98.58%. Over 65% of youngsters between the age group of 15 to 18 are now fully vaccinated against the virus. Now time for a short break, but on the other side, a diamond-shaped cafe that hangs 200 meters above ground, and to get to it, you have to walk on a glass bridge. Welcome back after the break. Now time for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. In all the latest news, dozens of Russian missiles rained down on military facilities in western and northern Ukraine on Saturday. As Russia's war in Ukraine enters its fifth month, regional officials said that 6 missiles were fired from the Black Sea at the Yevrevo base in the Lviv region in western Ukraine. In Zhytomyr region in the north of the country, 1 soldier has been killed as 30 missiles were launched at a military facility. Ukraine's military said strikes on the border region of Chernihiv were launched from the territory of Russia's ally, Belarus. Russia is now pushing to capture Lysychansk in the Donbas region. Governor of Luhansk, Serhiy Haidai, has said that Russian forces are attempting to blockade the city of Lysychansk from the south. The advance comes as the Ukraine troops begin withdrawal from the strategic frontline city of Severodonetsk. Russia is focusing all its efforts to capture all of the eastern Donbas region, comprising Luhansk and Donetsk provinces. US-supplied HIMARS rocket systems are already working and hitting targets in Russian-occupied parts of Ukraine. Commander-in-Chief of Ukraine's armed forces said on Saturday. He also thanked the American people for providing the weapons, adding that Ukraine's goal is victory. Ukrainian Foreign Ministry Dmytro Kuleba has said that Ukraine stands with Moldova in response to renewed threats from Russia. The support comes after Moscow warned of negative consequences over the 2 countries becoming candidates for EU membership. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that he feared Ukraine could face pressure to agree a peace deal with Russia that was not in its interest. He said that the economic consequences of the war in Europe could cause the Ukrainians to a bad peace. He also stated that the consequences of Russian President Vladimir Putin being able to get his way in Ukraine would be dangerous to international security and a long-term economic disaster. Now time for some other global updates. The US Supreme Court has ended constitutional protections for the abortion that had been in place nearly 50 years. The historic ruling counters the global trend to more liberal reproductive rights. In the US, it has been greeted with widespread celebrations by anti-abortion supporters and protests by abortion activists. Here are more details.
The US Supreme Court's conservative majority on Friday overturned the Roe v. Wade decision of 1973 that said the Constitution generally protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion. The conservative justices said the Constitution makes no reference to abortion and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision. The reversal of the Roe v. Wade will permit individual US states to ban abortion. At least 26 states could do it immediately. Abortion rights advocates staged protests in several major cities around the country. Protests were taking place in New York, Los Angeles and San Francisco, as well as in Chicago, Seattle and other cities. In New York and in Los Angeles, people chanted, "Rise up for abortion rights." Anti-abortion activists celebrated the verdict with signs opposing abortion. Showing their approval of the ruling, they held up signs saying that the future is anti-abortion, and dismember Roe. US President Joe Biden criticized the verdict, calling the abortion ruling a sad day for the court and for the country.
It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court, in my view. The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized. The court's decision to do so will have real and immediate consequences. State laws banning abortion are automatically taking effect today, jeopardizing the health of millions of women, some without exceptions. So extreme that women could be punished for protecting their health. So extreme that women and girls who are forced to bear their rapist's child, with the child a consequence.
Former US President Barack Obama called the decision an attack on essential freedoms. Across the US borders, its allies criticized the verdict. They included Canadian President Trudeau, French President Emmanuel Macron, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and others who voiced the solidarity with women whose freedoms they said have been challenged by the US Supreme Court. Recent opinion polls showed that about 2/3 of Americans favored abortion rights, although 7 in 10 US adults said they favored some degree of restriction on them. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
The head of the United Nations has warned that the world faces a catastrophe because of the growing shortage of food around the globe. Here is our special report.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said war in Ukraine has added to the disruptions caused by climate change, the coronavirus pandemic, and inequality to produce an unprecedented global hunger crisis already affecting hundreds of millions of people.
We face an unprecedented global hunger crisis. According to the World Food Programme, in the past 2 years, the number of severely food insecure people around the world has more than doubled to 276 million. There is a real risk that multiple famines will be declared in 2022, and 2023 could be even worse.
Guterres noted that harvests across Asia, Africa, and Americas will take hit as farmers around the world struggle to cope with the rising fertilizer and energy prices.
The main costs to farmers are fertilizers and energy. Fertilizer prices have risen by more than half in the past year, and energy prices by more than 2/3. All harvests will be hit, including rice and corn, affecting billions of people across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. This year's food access issues could become next year's a global food shortage. No country will be immune to the social and economic repercussions of such a catastrophe.
Guterres said UN negotiators were working on a deal that would enable Ukraine to export food, including via Black Sea, and let Russia bring food and fertilizer to the world markets without restrictions. He also called for debt relief for poor countries to help keep their economies afloat and for the private sectors to help stabilize global food markets. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
A 240-meter glass bridge spanning the Dashbash Canyon has opened in Georgia. A diamond shaped cafe hangs in the middle of the construction 200 meters above the ground, and it's already drawing visitors. Let's take a look.
It is the most high-tech construction in the middle of wild nature, near high cliffs and waterfalls. The 240-meter glass bridge spans the Dashbash Canyon in US Georgia. It opened on 14th June to visitors. The transparent walkway gives an unusual view of the lush green trees below. Travel bloggers are gushing about the place, calling it one of the most Instagrammable places.
და რა თქმა უნდა უსაფრთ მაგალითი ეს პროექტი არის სანიმუშო მაგალითი იმისა თუ როგორ შევძელით ჩვენ ერთი მხრივ შეგვენარჩუნებინა ამ ულამაზესი ბუნების ავთენტურობა მეორე მხრივ კი ვიზიტორებს ვთავაზობთ განსხვავებულ ექსტრემალურ გამორჩეულ ეკოტურისტულ სივრცეს და რა თქმა უნდა უსაფრთ.
Construction started in 2019. Israeli company Castland invested around $39 million. Tickets to the bridge and canyons start from $1. For adventure lovers, there is even a zip-line bike ride. In addition to the glass bridge, the Castland complex includes paths to the canyon and its waterfalls, panoramic views, a giant swing, bike zip lines, as well as cottages and a hotel. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And in more news across the world, Chinese President Xi Jinping pledged more resources and funding for developing economies at an event on global development hosted by China on Friday. She was speaking at a virtual meeting of BRICS leaders comprising Brazil, Russia, India and South Africa. He pledged to add $1 billion to its South-South Cooperation Assistance Fund and enhance support for the United Nations Peace and Development Trust Fund. 2 people were killed and over a dozen injured on Saturday in a mass shooting in Oslo as the city was gearing up for an annual Pride parade. The shooting happened outside a bar in the Norwegian capital. A suspect was arrested. The motive was not immediately known. It wasn't clear if the shooting had any connection to the Pride parade. 14 people received medical treatment. Medical teams assisted injured protesters in Ecuador capital Quito on Friday as demonstrations continued across the country. The protesters are part of a national strike to demand the gasoline prices to be cut and price controls to be imposed on agricultural products and a larger budget to be set for education. Ecuador's President Guillermo Lasso charged Friday that the indigenous leader heading a nationwide strike is seeking to stage a coup against the government. Nigeria is grappling with widespread fuel shortages, forcing motorists to spend hours in lines to buy gas and causing prices to surge for transportation and basic commodities. Russia's war in Ukraine has caused prices for fuel to go up by over 100%, but retailers complain they can only charge the price set by the government, causing them to operate at a loss. The Nigerian government has said the pump price must remain the same. A high-level US delegation will arrive in Sri Lanka on Sunday to hold talks with the country's top leadership to help it resolve the current economic crisis. The delegation representatives, the US Department of Treasury and the Department of State will visit Sri Lanka from June 26 to 29. They will meet with a wide range of political representatives, economists and international organizations to explore effective ways for the US to support Sri Lanka. Now time for all the sporting action in our sports segment. Indian women have won the T20 International Series against Sri Lanka. In the second match played at Damula, India restricted Sri Lanka to 125 for the loss of 7 wickets. Deepti Sharma took 2 wickets. India chased down the target for the loss of 5 wickets with 5 balls to spare. Opener Smriti Mandhana top scored with 39. Captain Harmanpreet Kaur remained not out on 31. India have taken an unassailable lead of 2-0 in the 3-match series. Moving to wrestling, elite Indian wrestler Bajrang Punia said he would compete in both the postponed Asian Games and the World Championships next year if there is a gap of at least 1 month between the two competitions. The 2022 Asian Games were postponed due to the rising COVID-19 cases in China, and the organizers are yet to announce new dates for the prestigious continental event. In tennis, the final of the Muyoku Open Grass Tournament was played between second seeds Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece and fifth seeds Roberto Bautista Agut from Spain. In a closely contested final, Tsitsipas came out victor. The Greek defeated Spaniard in 3 sets 6-4, 3-6, 7-6. In football, the Indian under-17 women's team suffered a 1-3 loss against Chile in its second match in the four-nation tournament despite an improved performance in Aquileia, Italy. The women's side came into the match after haplessly going down to the Italian side 0-7 in the opening fixture. Catherine Ramos, Methi and Amber Rollini scored for Chile. Kajol was a lone scorer for the Indian side. Before we take a wrap, a look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi to leave tonight for G7 summit in Germany. Discussions to focus on energy, climate, food security and counter-terrorism. Home Minister Amit Shah hails Supreme Court verdict on Gujarat riots, demands apology from those who levelled politically motivated allegations. No other outfit can use Bal Thackeray's name, says Teena. Maharashtra rebel faction calls itself Shiv Sena Bala Sahib. Holds meeting in Guwahati. Assam flood toll touches 118. Over 45 lakh affected. Brahmaputra and Kopli flowing above the danger mark. Air Force continues relief operations. US President Joe Biden calls abortion ruling a sad day for America. Promises to fight back. UN Human Rights Chief calls it a huge blow to women's rights. That's all we have time for in this bulletin. To keep yourself updated, stay tuned to Sansad Television. Good night.